All right. We made it. Week 1 begins. It is Thursday, September 4th. We welcome you to Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Start or sit for the AFC home games today, excluding the Chargers-Chiefs, which we previewed yesterday. So today we'll talk Baltimore-Buffalo, which is Sunday night, Cincinnati at Cleveland, Carolina at Jacksonville, Las Vegas at New England, Pittsburgh at the Jets, Miami at the Colts, and Tennessee at Denver. We did it, guys. We're here. Who's pumped? More excited for tonight's game or tomorrow night's game? I'm going to ask Jamie first. I know Heath's answer.
Both.
No, come on. One's got to be a little ahead of the other.
Why? I don't have to watch them at the same time.
I'm much more excited for Friday's game. I have NFC East fatigue in terms of prime time. Like Cowboys, I hope the Cowboys just start stinking so we don't have to watch them 6 times a year in prime time.
I mean, you think there's ever going to be a time in your life where the Cowboys are not on prime time?
Not as much, I'd say. Not as much. But all right.
I don't really know what this whole we made it thing is. Like, this is the journey begins tonight. The destination is fantasy championships.
I feel that. And you know what? I feel our tweet of the day from Heath Cummings. Great tweet. Love this tweet. He says, manifest a stat line for any player in week 1, but you only get one. What do you most want to see happen this week?
I love that you're frozen, unless mine's frozen.
No, it's definitely him.
Yeah. It's a very good luck.
Yeah.
You can hear me, though?
We hear you, yeah.
Perfectly fine.
You're stuck like sucking in your lips. It looks terrible.
It does look really bad. I'm going to let it go for like another 5 seconds before I leave and come back.
No, I think you just leave it the whole show.
Man, I think I should probably leave and come back. Okay, I'll be right back. While I do that, don't answer the question because I won't hear it. So just talk about the weather. I'll be right back.
So Heath, we had the 3 leftover league drafts last night.
Yep.
Man, these guys are tough. These guys are really, really tough. It's fun to see how our audience drafts. Just a great group of. Had to cut down 2 of the leagues from 16 to 14 because people didn't accept their invites. It was my fault for sending it out like very last minute. So I apologize to anybody that wanted to be in it and did not get in it. But Johnny Airport was there. Mr. Popinski was there. It was interesting to see their real names.
Did Johnny Airport draft all Vikings? Like, we've got to find out if he actually is Thomas.
No, he did not draft all Vikings. And I have probably my last draft of the season, my worst moment of the season. I was so tired yesterday, and I did the drafts. I staggered them 30 minutes at a time. I fell asleep. Missed my last 3 picks.
Oh no! All right, I'm back. Okay, give me that one stat line you want to manifest, Heath.
You know, I thought about this a lot, and I'm just going to stick with it. This is going to sound dumb to some people, but I want to see like the little rumors and whispers about Harold Fannin being the Browns' primary slot wide receiver come true. I want to see Harold Fannin catch 4 passes for 60 yards on 6 targets and a touchdown and just immediately be a thing with the hope that next year he's one of the best tight ends in football.
Okay, Jamie, give me a stat line you want to see.
That's like somebody said you can win the lottery and you take the dollar scratch off.
Yeah. I will just say if Harold Fannin turns into one of the best tight ends in the league next year, it's going to be close to lottery winnings in Dynasty for the next 5. So it'll be worth it.
Manifest any stat line and you want a Harold Fannin.
What about you? What do you got?
I mean, I'll take Braylon Allen becoming a monster.
Like an actual monster?
Yeah, like a monster.
All right, Braylon Allen. Give me carries and yards and touchdowns.
25 carries, 250 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They want to run the ball. Let's run it.
Only 2 touchdowns? All right.
Yeah,
I'm going to take one that, I'm a little worried about. I feel like I'm going to start him in a bunch of leagues, and he might disappoint, but you got to start him. Amarian Hampton. I'm going to take him 15 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown, 2 catches for 13 yards on 3 targets against the Chiefs. Najee Harris, no more than 8 carries. That's going to be my hope here. Najee Harris apparently going to start in this game, so I'm certainly concerned that that Hampton's going to have a tough week 1 against what could be a very tough run defense, but I won't be discouraged if that happens. And we'll get to that news item in just a second. Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, youtube.com/fantasyfootball today. Sunday morning. Please join us live, youtube.com/fantasyfootball today, answering your starter questions basically for an hour and a half, having some fun. It's a good time, and we'll get you ready for the games. We're on CBS Sports Network today, 1 p.m. Eastern. Dave, Jamie, Heath doing rankings every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Watch us on CBS Sports Network. Tuesday is waivers. Thursday is rankings. And Jamie, what are your Sunday morning plans from noon to 1?
We will be on CBS Sports HQ in some capacity, talking fantasy and giving you some last-minute gambling tips, gambling advice, picks for Sunday.
Okay.
So we have this new thing that's launching, right?
No.
NFL Today Plus that you can watch on CBS Sports HQ as well.
Yes.
On all your streaming platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Hosted by Amanda Guerra. It's going to be fun. Matt Ryan's going to be on the show. Curious to see how it's going to all play itself out, but it sounds like it's an awesome scenario. And then if you miss our recap show on Sunday, they are also doing a very first time ever big recap show on CBS Sports HQ with Pete Prisco, former NFL GM Rand Carthon, and former NFL running back Damian Harris. So that should be fun to watch as well. All
right, let's go to the news and notes. Najee Harris is expected to start on Friday in Brazil against the Chiefs. So I know we talked about that game yesterday, but is anybody downgrading Omarion Hampton considering sitting him?
No.
I could see a situation where I've got some guys that were drafted behind him ahead of him. So he's, I think, RB25 for me. I didn't downgrade him on the Najee Harris is starting quotes news. But I did downgrade him a little bit when Najee was a full go at practice and they said he was going to play. So I full PPR, I would start Jaylen Warren over him. I'd start Aaron Jones over him. I'd start Trevion over him. I'd start Tyrone Tracy over him.
Do the Chargers just want to lose?
I mean, we'll see what starting and playing time.
Okay, he's the veteran. Great. Congratulations. You missed the entire practice portion of your season to get ready for the season because of an unfortunate situation. And all this kid has done is bust his butt, and then you're going to say, sorry, you're not starting? Like, it's just so dumb.
All right, Devon Achane was limited. We are expecting him to play. Couple of interesting wide receiver notes, though. Christian Kirk, he missed practice with a hamstring injury. They're at the Rams on Sunday. And Keon Coleman was limited with a groin injury. Limited's good, but you don't like midweek injuries or anything like that. So we'll see about Christian Kirk and Keon Coleman. You know, people might have to make decisions. Keep an eye on the practice report, but you might have to, I don't know, start.
You're not making any decisions. Yeah, you're not making probably. Oh, I think you probably start Javonte Williams over those guys anyways. I was thinking the Friday game might be more of the decisions with like a Keenan Allen or a Marquise Brown, but
I would start Kirk over Javonte if he's healthy.
Okay. Jacoby Myers seems to be okay playing without a new contract, so I don't think we should count on him getting traded. Famous last words. Victor Furr of The Athletic thinks that the Ricky Pearsall hype is premature, and Juwan Jennings is expected to play this week, and I think he signed a contract this morning, right?
Yesterday, he signed a 3-year $3 million incentive-based extension. So basically, he has to hit playing time numbers to get his $3 million.
Which is not nothing, because if you were worried that Juwan Jennings was going to say, I'm a free agent next year, I'm not going to play through any minor injury, this gives him some motivation to play through stuff that he would normally play through. I got a lot of people very upset yesterday by showing the target share in the last 7 games for the 49ers when George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, and Ricky Pearsall were all healthy. Ricky Pearsall had a 13% target share. That's not to say I've got Pearsall projected well ahead of Jennings this week, but he could take a massive leap and just tie Juwan Jennings in target share at around 20%. And then they're both probably low-end wide receiver 3s.
How much of that was the Josh Dobbs, though?
Like a game and a half, I think.
Yeah. So, even the last 2 games that Pearsall broke out, Jennings had more targets in those 2 games.
Jennings had almost all the targets. Like people talk about Pearsall in week 18. He had a big week. He did almost nothing until Jennings got ejected. And Jennings had, I think, double-digit targets in the first half. But that was with Josh Dobbs, who's friends with Juwan Jennings. And peppered in with targets. All right. Jaden Reed missed practice with a foot injury, so he's not committing to playing in week 1 against Detroit. Big game. And Darnell Mooney was limited, so good progress for him. Obviously, the Thursday and Friday practice reports are much more important than the Wednesday practice reports, and we'll keep you posted. Cade Otton was limited. They're at Atlanta. A couple of offensive line notes. Andrew Thomas was limited. They're at Washington. We'll talk about that game tomorrow, and mentioned so many times how important Andrew Thomas is for the Giants offense. And Jets guard Elijah Vera Tucker could be out for the season with a torn tricep. So if you were doing it all again, all the drafting again, and you knew Elijah Vera Tucker were out for the season or an extended period of time, would you downgrade your key Jets players?
I think it's hard to, if you were already downgrading them. So for me, obviously I've been sort of anti Breece Hall. I'm not going to downgrade him more. I would guess Dave may downgrade Justin Fields more if he, is so apt to do, because I know he was a little down on him after the preseason. And I think Garrett Wilson's just sort of been universally downgraded. So more than that, I don't know. It feels like they all got to a point where they were fairly priced, I think.
It makes me a little more nervous about Braylon Allen, actually, if he's like going to be the primary runner between the tackles, and Breece Hall is going to handle more pass work and outside work.
Okay. And on defense, big defensive news. Christian Gonzalez missed practice. New England's number 1 cornerback. They're facing the Raiders. Dre Greenlaw, Denver free agent linebacker addition. He is questionable against Tennessee. He's coming off a serious injury. Both of Buffalo's starting cornerbacks are questionable right now for the Sunday night game against Baltimore. Saints edge rusher Chase Young hurt his calf. I will pick the Cardinals in this game. The Buccaneers defensive tackle Vita Vea missed practice with a foot injury. That's always a big deal for their run defense. We'll see if he's on his way back today. Micah Parsons was limited. They're hoping he's going to play. I wouldn't expect a normal snap share for Micah Parsons. And Jair Alexander practiced. I don't know why I put him in with Green Bay, because he is on Baltimore now. But Jair Alexander practiced for Baltimore. I know there was a question about whether or not he would play.
Just go back to Keon Coleman, because Khalil Shakir practiced in full. So something to keep an eye on there for Buffalo.
Oh, I just assumed that he was playing, but I guess I should have included that. Keon Coleman limited, and Khalil Shakir. Khalil Shakir, his ADP ended up being such a steal. Right? He was such an afterthought. All right, football fans, you ready to bring that playoff energy to your pro football bets all season long? This Pro Football Boost Pack gives you 3 ways to boost your payout on a winning bet. Just log into your BetMGM account to receive your boost pack. Then place any pro football bet and apply one of the tokens. Make sure to bet up to the minimum stake, odds, and legs specified on the token. If your boosted bet hits, you'll score a bigger payout. From opening kickoffs to game-winning drives, this Pro Football Boost Pack is your ticket to unforgettable moments this season. Don't wait on the sidelines. Join the action with BetMGM. We're going to one question for each game when we come back on Fantasy Football Today.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Well, we're going to start with Baltimore and Buffalo, and I think this is obviously a great game, a fun game to start with on Sunday night, but I think that wide receivers are a little bit difficult here for starts and sits, in my personal opinion. So question for Baltimore at Buffalo, who is the best wide receiver in this game? Let's assume they all play.
I'll take Zay Flowers.
I'll say Zay Flowers by 20 spots.
Oh, all right. Expand on that briefly, and then we'll get into it more in depth when we get to the game in a minute.
I just think this idea that Keon Coleman's emergence, and I'm assuming Coleman plays. If not, then Shakir would be much closer to Flowers. But what they did last year was just feature no one in the passing game. Josh Allen's still awesome, but they don't throw a whole lot. They'll probably throw more in this game than they do most throughout the year. But if Shakir's 100%, and then he's probably going to see 7 targets, and Dalton Kincaid's probably going to see 5 or 6, and that probably means 5 or 6 for Keon Coleman. one of those guys scores a touchdown and is a top 36 wide receiver. Maybe two of them does, but I don't know which one it's going to be going into each week.
Okay, look, we're going to expand on this game shortly. Cincinnati's at Cleveland. Which quarterbacks would you bench for Joe Flacco? You'd start Joe Flacco over who, Jamie?
None of the top tier guys. So like CJ Stroud. The only one that would be close for me is Justin Fields, of the guys that were drafted in the top 12 range, because I'm terrified of Fields. He gets off to slow starts every year, and facing the Steelers, they don't do the running quarterbacks are terrible against Mike Tomlin. So Fields could be an absolute disaster this week, and I think Flacco could go nuts. So that's the closest one, but I don't have it ranked that way.
My closest one is Jared Goff, and I have Goff ahead of him. They're back to back. But if interceptions didn't hurt you, I'd probably start Flacco over Goff.
And we said yesterday Goff has bad history in Green Bay. Is that right?
His last 3 games in Lambeau Field, I think it's like under 16 fantasy points per game.
Okay.
He does not have a 20-point game in Lambeau the last 3 years.
Carolina at Jacksonville. Question for this game. Bonanza?
Bonanza.
Definitely has the ability to be a bonanza. Yes.
Carolina.
Now you've ruined it.
Do you know that this is fun fact? You like these trivia stuff. This is Trevor Lawrence's first home opener on week 1.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So Carolina allowed the most points in football last year. Jacksonville 5th most. Obviously, Jacksonville drafted Travis Hunter, so hoping their secondary will get a lot better. They added nickel cornerback Jordan Lewis to their secondary, and Carolina is getting, I don't know, their best defensive player back. Derek Brown, defensive tackle, missed almost all of last year with a knee injury. So hopefully they're better, but not that much better because we want a lot of points in this game. Would you start Travis Hunter or Zay Flowers?
Hunter.
I think Travis Hunter is one of the most difficult players to rank in fantasy this week. I've got Flowers just ahead of him, but if I can understand for the fun of it and the upside of it, wanting to start Hunter.
I am concerned that Travis Hunter is going to be one of the most difficult players to rank every week. Like if he's in the 60% snap share range on a weekly basis, I don't know that's going to happen. I'm just saying that obviously it's possible.
I don't think I think my expectation is he's not going to give people a difficult decision in leagues where you start 3 wide receivers and a flex. You're just going to start him every week, and you'll take your lumps and you'll take your smashes. He might be really difficult in leagues that are 2 wide receivers and a flex.
All right, the Raiders are at the Patriots. Start or sit Travion Henderson?
Start.
Probably start. He's RB23 for me.
Okay. A running back scored 14.5 or more PPR fantasy points in basically 2/3 of the games against the Raiders. They were a really good matchup for running backs last year. Pittsburgh's at the Jets. Who's the best running back in this game?
In real life?
In fantasy.
Jalen Warren.
I have Brees 1 spot ahead of Warren. They're 20 and 21.
Okay, just ahead of Travion Henderson for you.
Just ahead of Travion Henderson.
Wow, Sportsline has it 6 spots.
Okay, Sportsline has Warren 20th and Brees Hall 26th. And I can't imagine we're starting Braylon Allen or Caleb Johnson this week. So we're Kenneth Gainwell. The Colts are the Dolphins are at the Colts. Starters at Jalen Waddle.
I kind of like Jalen Waddle this week. So better than Hunter, better than Flowers, better than any Bills receiver. In that, he would be in the blob essentially. You have no practice time with Tyreek Hill. Not that they need to develop rapport. You have maybe a limited Devon Achane, and you have no tight end right now, potentially with Darren Waller dealing with a hip injury, and obviously no Jonnu Smith. So it could be fun for the Dolphins offense this week on the turf in Indianapolis.
Start him.
I really hope this extends into a good start to the season. You got the Colts, the Patriots at the Bills, Jets at the Panthers. I think it's a pretty doable start to get off to a hot start for the Dolphins. So fingers crossed. Starts this week against the Colts, who did add 2 pieces to their secondary in safety Cam Bynum and cornerback Charvarius Ward. And finally, Tennessee is at Denver. All right, so we're talking 3 running backs and let's say 3 receivers, including Mims. Rank the flex options in this game. Tennessee at Denver. It'll be the last game we talk about.
Sutton 1. I go Harvey 2, Pollard 3, Ridley 4, and
Mims.
5.
Wait, I feel like I'm missing one. Dobbins.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sutton 1, Harvey 2, Pollard 3, Dobbins 4, Ridley 5, Mims 6.
I would swap. So yeah, Sutton, then Pollard, then Harvey, then probably Ridley, then Dobbins.
Okay.
And I'm not starting anybody else.
Ridley is probably the guy who's in the, the sit. He's the image on the sit column this week.
Yes, 100%. You got rookie quarterback on the road, Patrick Surtain, great defense all around. Like, it could be miserable for this team this week.
It could be. Does it bother you at all for RJ Harvey on the other side that the Titans allowed the fewest receiving yards to running backs last year?
It's not an ideal setup for him, but the fact that they may have the ball so much in a home game where he's going to hopefully get enough touch. It's really just, I'm not so much worried about the defense. It's, will the playing time be skewed? So I'm hoping what we saw in preseason starts to play itself out this week.
He's not a top 24 running back for me. He's behind Hampton, who I said was 25. So, but he's a high upside flex or a high upside low end RB2.
Okay. And Pollard, we're hoping for a lot of carries. It is a really tough matchup. Remember, the Titans signed 2 offensive linemen at the start of free agency, so they're hoping to be good there. Pollard got a ton of touches when Tyjae Spears was out. What can he do with those touches against what was one of the best run defenses in football last year? We'll find out.
He's one of the toughest players for me to rank.
Pollard?
Yeah, because situation's great, but matchup is awful. Scenario is awful.
Yeah, I don't know if people want me to do this. I have a team with 3 of the guys that we're talking about, and I'm making these decisions. I have Harvey, Pollard, Sutton, and Pacheco. And right now, Harvey's on the bench. I started Pacheco and Pollard and Sutton over him.
Yeah, I would bench Pacheco.
I would bench Pacheco.
Nope, not happening.
I mean, it's one of your flag plant guys.
Well, it's half PPR, not full PPR. I don't know if that matters.
The nice thing is if you drafted Pacheco as a 4th running back, you don't have to play him.
Right? You're going to win the bench points tiebreaker. Okay. Now it's time for coverage you can count on, sponsored by Nationwide. We need a DST to stream this week, guys. Jamie, who's our DST streamer of the week?
If Calvin Ridley is the poster child for sits, then the Cardinals DST is the poster for streaming defenses because the matchup could not get any better. Maybe I guess if they were in Arizona as opposed to in New Orleans. I mean, they're basically a touchdown favorite on the road, which tells you all you need to know about what Vegas thinks of this Saints team and this Saints offense, most likely with Spencer Rattler, who I believe had 9 turnovers in 7 appearances last year. So there's plenty of opportunities here for them to create some mistakes. Now, listen, Rattler did not have Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed in the 4 games that he started. I think maybe Shaheed got hurt in the first game, but didn't have him for the majority of the time. So there is potential that this could go not the way we're hoping for. But just based on what was available to you on waivers or last pick in your draft, the Cardinals DST just was screaming, take me, take me, take me, and start me this week because of the matchup against Saints.
All right, and they get the Panthers next week, so we'll see that could be a matchup you keep them for. We'll see how maybe the Panthers just have a huge game against the Jaguars, and we don't feel that way. But Arizona DST, 52% rostered. And that was the coverage you can count on, sponsored by Nationwide. We go to Baltimore at Buffalo. Here we go. Stat of the game, number 1. This is the Zay Flowers, this is the Zay Flowers portion of the show. In his 2-year career, Zay Flowers has scored 13 or more PPR fantasy points with fewer than 7 targets twice. So it's not easy to do, and he just doesn't really do it. He needs 7 or more targets. That's a big number for Zay Flowers. And so how does he get that? Well, based on last year, you want the Ravens to lose this game if you have Zay Flowers. Lamar Jackson averaged 12 more pass attempts per game in losses than wins, which is a bigger gap than what we usually see, but still, you want them to be chasing points a little bit here. So, how would you compare Zay Flowers to Tony Pollard and RJ Harvey?
I would start the running backs personally.
and it's in half PPR, I would agree with Jamie. In full PPR, I would start Pollard, then Flowers, then Harvey.
We're going to give something a little bit of a try here, something new on fantasy football today. So we're going to play a little tier maker here. If you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/fantasyfootball today. So we got a bunch of options, quarterbacks and flexes, and we're going to put them into tier 1 through 5.
Okay.
So this is just for this week. So we'll start with the easy ones. Lamar Jackson.
Tier 1.
Both quarterbacks. Yep.
All right. We'll throw Josh Allen up there. Now, I will say Josh Allen is great, but the Ravens did not allow more than 22 fantasy points to any quarterback from week 11 on, and that includes Josh Allen, who had 2 rushing touchdowns, didn't even hit 20 points in their playoff game.
And he was much worse than that in the regular season game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the Ravens blew the doors off of them in week 4 in Baltimore, but Buffalo got their revenge in the playoffs. So not tier 2. So Derrick Henry, tier 1, right?
One.
Put him up there. All right. How about James Cook? Now, listen, you would agree the Ravens could have the best defense in football? Like, wouldn't be a stretch. They're loaded, right? Okay. So they're a tough matchup for basically everyone. James Cook this week.
Tier 2.
So can we define tier 2 and tier 3? Because he's one of those two. I don't know what the difference is between them. He's RB 19 for me. So I'm probably starting him.
That feels like a tier 3 to me.
Okay.
I would say tier 1 and tier 2 are guys that I'm definitely starting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
tier
definitely
3 feels like a flex, and tier 4 and 5 are like questionable flex and sitting. So I would put him in tier 2.
He had about 15 PPR points in 2 games combined against the Ravens last year.
He's one of those guys where I'm definitely starting James Cook. I'm a little nervous about it,
Right.
but no one's going to sit him. We can put him in tier 2. I mean, that's fine. All right, let's go to the receivers. Let's go to Zay Flowers.
Can you put him on the line between tier 3 and tier 4?
I don't think so.
I'd say put him in tier 3. If James Cook's a tier 2 guy, Zay Flowers is a tier 3 guy.
That's fair.
Does anyone else go in tier 3? What about Mark Andrews?
Tier 3, especially with not likely. He was great last year without likely.
He was, yeah. So we could talk about that. Mark Andrews last year without Isaiah Likely.
Had one game against the Bengals.
Right. So it's a bit of an asterisk. He had a big game, but Lamar Jackson threw 4 touchdowns in that game. The Bengals, remember that for David Njoku this week if you're playing DFS, the Bengals were the worst team against tight ends. Every tight end killed them. So
part of that was Njoku, though.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, Andrew scored 18.8 PPR fantasy points against the Bengals without Isaiah Likely. It was a combination of so many things that worked in his favor, but it is good that he doesn't have Likely.
I kind of think that the Ravens are going to be intentional about, it's almost going to be a Trey McBride situation. We're going to get Mark Andrews a touchdown this week.
Yes.
I think he's a tier 2 guy. I mean, at the tight end position.
I was going to say he's tier 2 for me. So
let's go tier 2, right? You good with that, Heath?
I didn't think James Cook was in tier 2, so it worked perfectly.
You think Mark Andrews' start percentage is going to be in the high 80s or 90s, I would think.
I would think so.
Right now, he was like borderline 80%.
Okay. Dalton Kincaid.
4.
Yeah, if 4 is I don't want to start these guys, then yes.
Keon Coleman.
3.
4 for me, but it's fine.
I'm going to let Schaefer break the tie because he's controlling it. Tier 4. So that's kind of a sit. So, Jamie, you want to make a case for Keon Coleman as a starter?
I mean, first off, he's got to be healthy. So if he has any other or limited practices, then he's a guy you should avoid just given the situation. But Heath said it with the breakdown earlier. One of these guys is going to have an opportunity to make plays. It could be Josh Palmer. It's the highest over-under of the week. And this should be a shootout. We should see these two teams going back and forth, hopefully, despite how good their defenses are, if you believe in the quarterbacks. And so there's so much momentum for Keon Coleman. I hate the fact that he's hurt going into his first game after everything that's been said. So there's going to be, you assume, some shots to him down the field. Hopefully his route tree's expanded. We see some, maybe target bump. So I think he's in that borderline scenario, but I'm not going to argue that he has done enough to earn anything yet. He's got to prove it.
Yeah, the weird thing about Baltimore is they often have a lot of talent in their secondary, but they give up fantasy points. They give up, I think, the 8th most fantasy points to wide receivers last year. Now, Sharp Football Analysis ranks their secondary 5th going into the year. PFF has them 1st. They've got a lot of talent. They did lose safety Ardarius Washington for the season, but they drafted Malachi Starks in the 1st round. They signed Jair Alexander. The question is, is their run defense going to be so good that teams are going to just throw so much and it's going to be a volume thing? We do see that in fantasy sometimes. A great run defense can sometimes leave you vulnerable against the passing game just on a volume perspective. And maybe Coleman can take advantage there. So do we have any Keon Coleman questions in the chat? We can do like Keon Coleman or did we do Keon Coleman or Jalen Warren?
Warren, easy.
Yeah, it's not close.
Breece Hall?
All easy.
I would start Hall. Not easily, but I would start Hall.
Javonte Williams?
I'd start Coleman in PPR.
I would still start Javonte.
Yeah, look, if Coleman's limited today in practice, you got to start Javonte probably, right? It's Thursday. How about Deebo Samuel and you're going to start Deebo Samuel. It's too easy. Cooper Kupp?
I would go Coleman, but that's close.
I
wouldn't fight it either way.
My Keon Coleman or answer is or.
Well, what about Khalil Shakir or Keon Coleman, Heath?
I currently, as of this morning, have Keon Coleman 2 spots ahead of Khalil Shakir. But if Coleman's limited tomorrow or today, then it'll be Shakir over Coleman.
And I would agree with that.
All right. So where's Shakir going? Tier 4 or tier 5?
4.
Same tier as Coleman for sure.
And Rashad Bateman?
4.
Oh, Schaefer was definitely going right to 5. That's where I was going with Bateman.
Yeah, I mean,
I would much rather start Coleman and Shakir over Bateman, wouldn't you?
I would, but I think there's the same volatility for either of these guys. There's boom bust potential for Rashad Bateman every week.
I think the way that Keon Coleman is good this year is a better version of what Bateman was last
100%.
year. It's not going to be a high volume target guy. So I think they're kind of the same guy until Coleman proves otherwise. But I would start those guys over Bateman.
Okay. What do you think, Schaefer? Is that a 4 or a 5? 4? Okay.
It's a 5. And Keon Coleman may be falling into 5 if he can't get a full practice in.
All right, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about this game. Basically, you're starting the quarterbacks, you're starting the running backs, you're starting Mark Andrews, and Zay Flowers is a question mark. We'll keep coming back to it.
He's a starter in 3 receiver leagues. There's no question about that.
I got some Bateman questions. Bateman or Odunze? I mean, you got to go Odunze, right?
Yes.
Like the one guy who was better than a lot of these wide receivers we talked about in this matchup, both games last year, was Justice Hill.
Okay. You want to?
I think he should be probably in tier 5 with Bateman at least.
Okay.
Where's Hopkins?
I didn't put everybody in there. Like, no one's starting DeAndre Hopkins.
I have Hopkins basically tied with Bateman in the projections. He could score a touchdown just as easy as Bateman or Keon Coleman.
Coleman or Darnell Mooney?
Where's Josh Palmer?
That's a good question. Josh Palmer, they signed him to a pretty big deal. I was just looking over my free agency notes the other day, and Josh Palmer is someone you might want to stash. Just a quick question from the chat.
Just the irony. If Josh Palmer is better than Keon Coleman for Dave, it's just going to be amazing.
That would be awesome.
Coleman or Mooney?
No, it wouldn't.
Can you answer this question real quick? Coleman or Mooney?
I'll take Coleman if healthy. They're both banged up.
Both banged up.
This is what and I made this point when I put my projections out on Tuesday. Please, even on Thursday, we're going to give you all the information we have now. Please check back on Saturday and Sunday to our rankings because Mooney and Coleman is completely undetermined at this point. Which guy's healthier? Sorry.
Yeah, last thing in this game. And then also remember, both of the Bills cornerbacks are banged up right now. So we got to keep an eye on that too. What do you do if you have the Ravens DST? Do you start them? Do you try to roster 2 DSTs? Do you drop them? What do you do if you have the Ravens?
I would hate to carry 2 DSTs. I think you just take your lumps and hope that there's a turnover and something that they do that's, and the same with the Bills DST. I mean, look, both of them were drafted in the majority of leagues. So if you made that decision, you just ride it out.
Yep.
Unless you just have like an unlimited bench, like you can.
Bills DST has some pretty good matchups coming up. Baltimore has Cleveland next week, but then they also have Detroit and Kansas City after that. All right, that's it for Baltimore Buffalo. Let's go to Cincinnati at Cleveland. Stat of the game. In 2024, there were 15 wide receivers with 7 or more targets against the Bengals. All of them scored double-digit PPR fantasy points. 12 of them scored 15.8 or more PPR fantasy points. So you get 7 targets against the Bengals, you're worth starting. So we'll start Jerry Jeudy. Now, can you guys see yourself starting Cedric Tillman in any of your leagues?
I'd start him over a few of the guys we just mentioned, like Bateman and Kincaid as a flex, for example. There's a lot of potential there.
If Keon Coleman has a questionable tag on Friday, I'd start Tillman over Coleman.
All right, there's some appeal there. If you need someone, take a look at Cedric Tillman. Heath, this game's pretty easy for the Bengals, right? I mean, just start everyone.
Not everyone, but start Burrow, start Chase, start Higgins, start Brown.
Yeah, start the big 4. And then for Cleveland, Jeudy and Njoku are layups, right?
Must starts.
Did you want to talk about Flacco, where you have him ranked?
I was so disappointed with how low he came out in my week 1 projections. I was so excited to rank him really high. And the big problem for Joe Flacco is how much do you get penalized for turnovers? If it's -2 for interceptions and -2 for fumbles, then he's definitely going to have a lot more points negative on turnovers than he's going to have positive for rushing. And that means he's got to throw multiple touchdown passes, and he might. I think he's a guy you start in a super flex league. He's not a guy I'm starting in a 1 QB league.
From a DFS standpoint, do you care about the history between these two teams and the fact that Joe Burrow did have a huge game. He scored 28 points against the Bengals in week 16, but the 5 previous games, 7.4, 17.5, 20.6, 3.2, 18.9. Those are the points for Joe Burrow. This has just been a team that's kind of had Cincinnati's number a little bit. They usually keep it close with them. Does that matter to you at all? And for DFS?
Well, we're hoping they keep it close in like a 35-31 game as opposed to a 2017 game. So I think I'm not playing Burrow in DFS this week. I am certainly going to have a couple of Flacco lineups if I'm putting together several lineups. And when I play the Bengals, it'll probably be as like bring back players with a round stack.
Oh man,
this could be a bonanza, right?
Probably the second most likely.
I hope so. Chase Brown, obviously, like pumped to start him, should do well in the passing game. Just got to say, the Browns could have a great run defense. They were good last year, and they drafted Mason Graham 5th overall, and they drafted Carson Schlesinger in the 2nd round. So this could be a legitimately tough matchup.
And they could have 6+ sacks.
They could, yeah. I mean, yeah, they've got a lot of talent on defense. All right, so let's talk about Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson, and we'll end with that. So the Bengals are probably not going to have a very good run defense. Let's see, where did they rank last year? Well, they don't even have that. Whatever, they suck. So thoughts on the Browns running backs?
I'm starting Jerome Ford over Tony Pollard.
Whoa.
Wow. Full PPR, I would start Ford over Harvey.
I start Ford over Harvey too.
Half PPR, I actually like Sampson over Ford. I think they're both right around RB 30. Either one of these guys, both of these guys could be top 30 running backs. It wouldn't be that difficult. It's just this is one of those things where we get to find out, and we may find out and then it doesn't matter because Judkins finally comes into the picture, but we don't really know what the touch distribution is going to be between Ford and Sampson. I think Sampson's better as a rusher, but does that matter to the Browns in week 1?
By the way, the Bengals were 18th against running backs last year. They were not that bad. 4.26 yards per carry allowed to running backs. All right, I think it's a bold take, but you're not on that. You're not starting Ford Heath over Pollard.
No, and like we'll probably talk about this enough throughout the year, and people probably know it if they've been listening for a long time. But if I've got a running back that I project for over 20 touches, even in a terrible matchup, I'm just going to start him.
All right, I got some questions on this game. This is from Jordan. Dylan Sampson or Darnell Mooney, assuming Mooney plays?
I would go Mooney.
Is Mooney a full participant or a partial? If it has a partial, I'll go Sampson. As a full, I'll go Mooney.
Tua Tagovailoa or Joe Flacco?
Man, you don't want to lose. So I'd go Tua.
Yeah,
I'd go Tua.
Judy or Abuka?
Judy.
Both? Judy.
Judy or Jamison Williams?
Judy.
Just can you get a clip of me playing Judy and just push that button every time you ask a Judy question?
You know the song Sweet Judy Blue Eyes?
I do not.
It's a great song. It's a Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young song. I think they're best. You should listen to it.
Didn't sing it for us.
It's I need harmony. We could do harmonies. It's a lot of harmonies in that song. Flacco or Trevor Lawrence?
Lawrence.
Okay. All right. We'll be back to talk about Carolina at Jackson. We'll talk about Trevor Lawrence after this. Can't believe you haven't heard that song. God, I'm so excited for you to listen to it.
I probably have. I've listened to a lot of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, but I don't really remember songs very well.
Now it's Suite, Suite, because it's a suite of music, and it's the one that goes do 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 do.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, we've all heard that.
Okay. All right, here we go to what's that?
Great job with the clues there.
Thank you. Carolina's at Jacksonville. Again, two of the worst defenses in football last year. So Trevor Lawrence, I would start Trevor Lawrence over blank.
Oh boy. Dak Prescott.
Yep.
Justin Fields.
Yep.
Jared
Goff.
Ooh.
Brock Purdy for me.
Brock Purdy, I would agree.
I'm starting him over Jordan Love. I'm sure you guys would approve.
Jordan Love, yep.
This is like the same almost exact narrative for these two quarterbacks. Like former number one picks who have been greatly underperformed their draft stock, playing against a terrible defense with a new elite weapon added at wide receiver. This could be the breakout game for both Trevor Lawrence and Bryce Young. It took Trevor Lawrence twice as long, but they might both like break onto the scene as guys we're just considering to start regularly.
I would say Bryce Young probably did his final 3 games last year, but nobody noticed. So you're right in terms of like eye-opening, because start of the season versus end of the season when everybody's in their fantasy playoffs, they're not playing Bryce Young. But like he averaged over 30 fantasy points per game in his last 3 games of the season last year. That's hard to get better than that if he's going to have a breakout season. I do think, and I'll just give you real life scenario. We talked about this when Dave was breaking down the auction that we did, where I took 3 quarterbacks, and the one that I was planning to drop is Trevor Lawrence. I'm just going to hold. There was nobody on waivers that I really wanted. I'm just going to hold the 3 quarterbacks through for the first week, because if Lawrence goes crazy, I don't want to give that away. And so, and the other 2 are 2 guys that I like as well, and Bo Nix and Drake May. So I'm just going to hold them, and I like them all. It's like back to back to back. I think Nix, May, and Lawrence back to back to back.
I picked up Trevor Lawrence in a couple leagues where I drafted either Dak or Justin Fields, my 2 most drafted quarterbacks, and I'm starting Trevor Lawrence over both of them.
Yeah, had a buddy last night doing a guillotine draft, and he missed on quarterbacks. So like, is Trevor Lawrence still there? He said yes. I said, you're good. He's like, no, I can't. No. I'm like, you want to just get through the first 3 weeks, and his schedule is as good as you could possibly find.
What am I looking at here, Schaefer? Are these projections for week 1?
Yeah, those are sports line projections.
All right. So if you can see at youtube.com/fantasyfootball today, if you're like, what are they talking about? Trevor Lawrence is projected just below Josh Allen, but that's at QB 8. Allen 7 and Lawrence 8 this week.
No bias there with the Ravens. None at all.
I have Allen at 5, Lawrence at 8.
All right. Start Trevor Lawrence. Bryce Young or Joe Flacco? Who's better this week?
Young.
I'll take Flacco. But it's close.
Would you guys start Bryce Young over, Jordan Love or Jared Goff? Somebody like that?
He's right there with them.
I'd start him over Goff. I'd start him over Fields.
Caleb?
I kind of like Caleb.
I don't like Caleb. I would start him over Caleb. I do think it's interesting that like Heath is making the decision to go pick up Trevor Lawrence. I wonder how many fantasy managers who drafted Jared Goff as their starter and nobody else, are they willing to make that sort of ad drop at this point?
Well, but just to be clear, I know you're not saying drop Jared Goff.
No, I'm sorry, not to drop Jared Goff, to pick up a second quarterback and drop, let's say, a handcuff running back or somebody that you took a late round flyer on that you like.
So start Chuba Hubbard. Tedero McMillan is a layup this week. Start him.
I don't think any rookie wide receivers a layup, but yes, I would start him.
I'm starting him.
I would love to see Tedero McMillan versus Travis Hunter would be
It'd be a lot of fun, right?
Right. It would be, and it could hurt McMillan. We got to at least acknowledge that possibility. But, we like this game. We like the points to over-unders 47. So
the setup for Bryce Young is not as ideal as it could be because you lose Adam Thielen and Jalen Coker right before the start of the season. Not great. The setup for Tedero and McMillan is unbelievable because you lose Adam Thielen and Jalen Coker right before the start of the season. So there should be an opportunity here for him to. I'd be shocked if it's not 7+ targets.
Where are we?
If you told me the number was 11, I'd buy it.
Tet, a couple of Tet questions. Although he doesn't like to be called Tet. So Tedero, McMillan, or Judy?
Judy.
McMillan for me.
Ibuka or McMillan?
Teroa.
McMillan.
Good save, Heath. Travis Hunter or Tony Pollard, half PPR?
Pollard.
All right. What do you guys want to do with Hunter?
Heath said it best. You're starting him in 3 receiver leagues with a flex. In a 2 receiver league with a flex, if he's your best option in one of those spots, then you start him. If not, you probably can find someone that's a little bit safer.
I think he may have the exact same point projection for me as Jamison Williams. Like just the quintessential boom bust wide receiver 3.
Are you going to start Browns running back or Travis Hunter?
I would go Ford, Hunter, Sampson.
Full PPR, I would go Hunter, Ford, Sampson. Half PPR, I'd go Sampson, Ford, Hunter.
Do you deep leagues, Jatavian Sanders or Brenton Strange?
Strange over Sanders, but they're close.
All right. Carolina really struggled against tight ends last year, gave up the 5th most fantasy points to tight ends. And then that brings us to the Jaguars running backs. How do you guys feel about
Don't forget Xavier Legette. There's another opportunity for him to prove himself. I hope he does because look, they traded up 2 years ago to get him in the first round. He did not have a great rookie season. Is he going to be a polished wide receiver ever? Probably not. I think the idea was, to make him like a Deebo Samuel, somebody who can, do a lot of things with the ball in his hands and give him opportunities to make plays. But the runway's clear now. Again, no Thielen, no Coker. He should have a chance to play well in this game. And this is going to be one of the guys you asked, I think yesterday, who's going to be a big waiver wire guy. This could be the guy.
Let's hope Hunter Renfrow doesn't have more targets than him.
Oh yeah, and that's a great point. Renfrow could easily be somebody as well. I think I made that joke yesterday that Renfrow would be the guy. But yes, both those guys, big opportunity.
And how are we feeling about Bigsby, ETN, Tootin?
I'm going with the idea from 2 different people that I know with the Jaguars that cover the team. One obviously is our colleague Pete Briscoe. That ETN is going to be the guy to start the season, and then we'll see what happens from there. So nothing more than a high end flex. If you're there's 3 guys that I think you want to throw Jerome Ford in there. I understand, but there are guys that have great opportunities in week 1 to prove themselves, and he's one of them. I think Ford is one, or Sampson, whichever one you want to go with. Javonte Williams is another one. Clearly chance to sort of establish himself as the guy there, and Austin Eckler would be the 4th. But I think in the case of the Jaguars, if ETN comes out and has a big game, then he could hold on to this role for the rest of maybe the month of September.
Tootin is nothing more than a stash for me, just holding him on the bench. ETN Bigsby is a similar situation to Ford Sampson for me, and they're in a similar place in the rankings too. ETN in full PPR, tank, and everything else.
I'm going to fire through some questions here on this game. RJ Harvey or Travis Hunter?
Harvey.
I'll go Hunter in full PPR.
Hunter or Tyrone Tracy?
Tracy's lines on FanDuel are suggestive of a very large workload.
Really? Okay. Lawrence or Drake May?
May for me.
I've got Lawrence 1 spot higher.
All right, let's go to our next game. Las Vegas at New England. Stat of the game. Hunter Henry, 58% rostered, averaged 10.2 PPR fantasy points in Drake May's 10 healthy games. The Raiders allowed the 2nd most fantasy points to tight ends last year. And for what it's worth, I don't think this necessarily going to translate, but Henry's first 4 opponents ranked 31st, 22nd, 27th, and 28th against tight ends in 2024. So Hunter Henry is perhaps a little underrated, and he's 58% roster, which is about right. But if you need a tight end, keep an eye on him.
Just one thing on that. There was no Stephon Diggs. There was no Travion Henderson. There was no Kyle Williams. There was no Matt Collins. Like there's a little bit of a hurdle for him to have to overcome. But I'm with you. I mean, matchup is great, and he was very solid for Drake May last year. And now you have Josh McDaniels, who we know loves to use his tight ends.
Yeah, absolutely. Good points. Okay, so who are the easy starts in this game? Raiders at Patriots.
I think the two Raiders are obvious in Gentry and Bowers.
Yep.
Myers for me is in that Zay Flowers, Keon Coleman range. So we'll see how it shakes out for them. Drake May is my start of the week, so I am expecting him to come out and have a big game. There's obviously no guarantee, but I like the setup against the Raiders. The Raiders are going to be a little bit of a wild card because of a new coach. But you have West Coast team going East Coast, 1 o'clock start. You have Josh McDaniels, former office coordinator. I'm sure he's going to want to stick it to the Raiders if he can. Drake May, like you said, was very solid or as we've said throughout the course of you didn't say it today, but over the course of the draft prep process, when he was healthy last year, his running was there, his ability to make plays was there, and he did it without these playmakers on the field. So I like the fact that Diggs cleared to go. Addition of Travion Henderson. I don't think this is going to be a dominant run game for the Patriots. So Henderson, for example, is going to make a lot of plays in the passing game. So I like the setup for Drake May a lot. And I think Drake May, Trevor Lawrence are two guys that you either drafted late or picked up at some point, maybe after the draft process, that are going to be top 10 quarterbacks this week. And
Sharp Football Analysis and PFF both ranked the Raiders secondary dead last in the NFL. And the Patriots had a pretty bad defense last year, but it is a just completely different unit. New coaching staff, obviously. Christian Barmore played 4 games. He's back. They signed Milton Williams. They signed Robert Spillane. They signed Carlton Davis. They had all the money in free agency. They went out and they made some splashes early, but missing Christian Gonzalez is tough.
If he was playing, I would say Myers is a flat out sit.
I think we don't know for sure that he's not playing, but it seems it's trending that way. I think Travion Henderson's going to be one of the guys we get the most questions about this week. So, and honestly, Ramondre Stevenson, I got a question right here. Let's just address this real quick. Ramondre Stevenson, Dylan Sampson, or Tank Bigsby in PPR? It's guillotine.
Sampson for me.
There's not a good guillotine play amongst those three.
Oh, it's a guillotine. I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
But I would still go. I'd go Sampson.
I'd go matchup. Yeah, Sampson.
All right. So Travion Henderson is where in your rankings?
Top 20.
23 in full PPR, 24 in half PPR.
Why is he so low? Because I know, like Jamie, you specifically were drafting him much higher than that. So it's lower. You just want to see it play out.
So just for example, I was drafting Henderson over Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard's matchup to me is a little bit better, and just the role security for week 1, and the same with James Conner taking on the Saints. So those two in particular I have ranked ahead of Henderson.
I think not a lot, but a few of the rookies will just see the workload we expect for the full season in week 1, like Ashton Gentry or the guys at the very top. A lot of these running backs, I wouldn't be surprised if their workload increases over the first month, and then they're who we thought they were going to be. So I'm a little lower in week 1 on Henderson, Hampton, Harvey, those kind of guys.
Sure. All right, last question for this game, but then I'll look at some chat questions here. And I hope the chat questions are not intended just to help the person asking in the chat. They're intended to help you get a picture of where we have these guys ranked. Look, I've got a lot of Christian Kirk, some Keon Coleman, Jaden Reed, maybe guys that I thought maybe I could throw in there as a flex in a PPR league. If we need a wide receiver, even in a 12-team league, how do you feel about Demario Douglas? How do you feel? Oh, I didn't ask you guys about Stephon Diggs. Got to talk about him. Sorry. How do you feel about Douglas or Thornton or something like that? Any sleepers in this game?
Douglas for sure. And I think he's going to be in that category almost on a weekly basis if he's getting the targets that I expect. I'm sure probably Heath is going to say something similar because of his role. Like there's the hope would be based on how it was drafted that Diggs is going to dominate targets for the Patriots. But you are talking about still, like he said himself, I'm glad that he's off the injury report, but he said himself, he's like, I hope I'm not on a snap count. So how much are the Patriots going to monitor his playing time and his opportunities? And I'm sure, game flow and situation are going to dictate that. But I think in the case of Douglas, if he is the slot receiver, he's established. And I think you can say Henry too, if you're talking about sleepers. Like Thornton has got so much upside. And by the way, Heath, did you get did you do what Adam does, the Fab report? I want to know how far I was ahead of the field in picking him up in our Dynasty League. I think there's just great stash opportunity, and it could turn into amazing production. But that's not the type of guy I think in week 1 without buys and injuries that you want to trust.
Yeah. All right. Look, can we talk about Stephon Diggs? So how do you compare Diggs to, let's say, Travis Hunter, Emeka Egbuka, those types of players?
I do. There's a few guys. Some of them are rookies. Some of them are vets coming off injuries. Jawan Jennings would be another that before I'm going to rank them as what they used to be. I'm going to have to see it for 1 week. So Diggs, an older guy coming off a major injury, I'm going to have to. It's a great matchup in terms of the corners he'll be going against. I also think it's pretty interesting on a Mike Vrabel coach team. If this is a game where they play ahead because they're favored, is this just a game where they run the ball a lot more than they pass? So I've got Diggs one spot behind Christian Kirk right now. If Kirk does not progress in terms of his injury, he's obviously ahead of him, but he's closer to like wide receiver. That looks like he's about close to wide receiver 40 for all of us. I'm just a little bit lower, but I'd like to see 1 week of Stephon Diggs looking like Stephon Diggs in an NFL game where people are allowed to hit him and stuff.
I think everything he said about Travis Hunter applies to the group of guys that he's referring to. In a 3-receiver league in a flex, there's a good chance that you're starting Stephon Diggs. In a 2-receiver league in a flex, you hope to have better options. But I think Diggs, I'm going to put Cooper Kupp in that range because not coming off injury, but just changing teams and, different situation. Kirk is a great one because changing teams. I did, throughout the majority of the draft process, have Deebo Samuel in this range too, but I think he's shown enough to ascend past this group. But like any of these guys that either change teams, coming off down seasons, coming off injuries, and they're in the older group, veteran established guys, like you have to be a little bit concerned about how this is going to look, unless just everything has, fallen perfectly for them, which I don't know if there is for any of them. Maybe Diggs is the closest, but like you want to take a wait and see approach if you can.
All right. We got 3 games left. Let me read some comments real quick here. Pick 1, George Pickens, Travion Henderson, Ricky Pearsall.
Henderson.
Tyler Warren or Hunter Henry?
You sure it's not Derrick Henry or Jalen Warren?
I thought about that.
Tyler
Warren.
Half PPR, Henderson, Hampton, or DK Metcalf?
Henderson.
Ooh, half PPR. I'm going to need a second to look at that. I've got DK at 11 points. Hampton I'll go DK.
May or Dak?
May.
Diggs or RJ Harvey?
Harvey.
Pop Douglas or Egbuka?
Come on.
Yeah, Egbuka. And Hunter Henry or TJ Hawkinson?
Come on.
Hawkinson.
All right, next game. Pittsburgh at the Jets. So useless stat of the game. The Jets allowed only 4 touchdowns to tight ends last year, and Jonnu Smith had 2 of them. Starter any tight end in this game?
No. Stash Mason Taylor if you can.
Okay. Who do you like in this game?
The Steelers DST.
Oh, wait, real quick. Start the Patriots DST.
I think they're in the low end streaming conversation, but despite all the offseason moves, I would like to wait and see. You're still talking about Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers. There's a chance that they could score a lot of points.
Yeah. All right. So who do we like in Pittsburgh and the Jets?
For me, Jalen Warren's a low end starter. Breece Hall's a flex. I would like to only start DK Metcalf and Garrett Wilson in 3-receiver leagues. And Justin Fields is a number 2 quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is it.
I have DK, Warren, and Hall ranked as low-end starters. I have Wilson ranked as a wide receiver 3 that you start in that lineup setting, but only there.
All right.
Justin Fields in the last 3 seasons has not scored 20 fantasy points in week 1.
I think what's interesting, well, we can stick with the Jets, but you guys are really hesitant here with the Jets. Like, holy moly. Where did you say you had Breece Hall ranked?
He's just inside the top 30 for me.
Oh, I've got him 20th, so I think I'm not as hesitant.
Okay. Breece Hall or Travion Henderson, Heath? I know it's Henderson for Jamie.
It's Hall for me.
Okay. Breece Hall or Garrett Wilson?
I would start Wilson in PPR.
I would start Hall.
What's the beef with Metcalf?
So you've pointed this out almost his entire career about how he struggles with tough corners, and he's played Sauce Gardner twice in his career, and both games did not go well for him. So while I hope there's going to be a lot of volume for him, and I think again he's starting through receiver league, he's not an outright sit, but he's just, for me, he's gone from draft process a number 2 receiver to, for this week, he's in the blob.
Yeah, I mean, I Sauce Gardner has never shadowed. That's always been one of the knocks on him. I don't think it's a fair knock, but that's just the way they've played. But the new coaching staff did not rule that out. I don't know the last time they spoke about it, but the last time I remember hearing about it, they did not rule that out. And I would
ever a game for it, like
100%, right? And they don't have DJ Reed on the other side anymore. I forgot who they signed to replace him. They signed Brandon Stevens from Baltimore, but yeah, I mean, I am interested to see that could definitely happen. And a lot of people think Sauce is overrated, so I hope he plays DK Metcalf. And we'll that'll be a fun matchup. I guess I'm not quite as low on Metcalf. I feel like
I'm not either.
Where do you have him?
20th.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like what you're saying about, Tony Pollard. You guys going to get a lot of volume no matter what the matchup is. I do sort of feel like that's happening. The Jets could have a pretty good run defense. Remember, they just traded for Harrison Phillips. They obviously have Quentin Williams. So I don't know how, Jamie's pretty excited about Jalen Warren. Heath.
Well, within reason.
Yeah. Where do you guys have Jalen Warren?
21st.
Like 24th or 25th, in that range. I would start him over Breece Hall. I mean, but again, I've been sort of anti-Breece Hall. Losing, Vera Tucker does not help going into week 1 against the Steelers.
And Heath, are you equally low on Justin Fields?
I didn't see on the screen where they have him. He's QB 15, 16, 17 for me. So
all 3. Wow.
And I talk about this a lot, but there's a point difference between QB 12 and QB 20 this week in my projections. So you guys should start the guy that you if they're in that range, start the guy you like the best. But it's a low scoring game. I think one of the only over-unders below 40 this week.
Mike Tomlin's history against running quarterbacks is great, and they were 4th best in terms of rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks last season, for example. And they faced Lamar Jackson twice a year.
It is a fantastic double revenge game.
Yeah.
No, it's a very intriguing game. All right, let's take a break. We got 2 games left. When we come back, we'll start with the Colts and the Dolphins after this.
We're getting a lot of questions about our rankings. They're supposed to roll over to week 1 at some point today. There's been some technical issues with why they're not on the site. So we apologize for that, but you can find them in our leagues, in your league home pages. But I would assume, and we appreciate it, that a lot of people don't just come to us to play on our site. They come to us for our content. So hopefully that will be up by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah, just to echo that point, because it's an important one. If you play in a CBS Sports League and you go into your league, you can see our week 1 rankings. They've been there most of the week.
Yes. Okay, let's go to our stat of the game for Miami at Indianapolis. Indiana produces more than 20% of the country's popcorn supply, according to visitindiana.com. You guys popcorn fans?
I mean, doesn't everybody just like popcorn?
Yeah, it's good. Right. Yeah. Except for Heath, apparently.
I can't. No, I like popcorn. You ever have a dream and you just completely forget about it, and then somebody says something during the day and you realize it was a part of your dream last night?
What happened?
I don't remember why, but I was driving across Illinois on my way to Indiana.
Eating popcorn?
No popcorn. I was really concerned with realizing that I was going to cross over into a different time zone and I was going to be late.
I'm picturing Heath in his dream jumping on giant popcorn, like it's like clouds, and getting to the highest point and saying, "Harold Fannin, please deliver."
I went to a wedding once that was on the border between Indiana and Illinois, and we stayed in Illinois, and the wedding was in Indiana, and that every time we drove back and forth to the venue, that time changed an hour. It really threw me off.
Yeah, and this is a completely foreign
The Hoover
concept
Dam.
for people like me and Jamie who grew up in South Florida. Like, we never change time zones, driving.
Yeah.
So, okay, this game, someone said in the chat, sneaky bonanza. And I certainly have to agree with that. So 46.5 is the total here. I think the Bengals game was 47. This is exciting. So, obviously Achane and Jonathan Taylor, even though the Dolphins allowed only 2 rushing touchdowns to running backs in the last 10 games. Achane, Jonathan Taylor are must starts. Tyreek Hill, just must start, right?
Yes. Unless there's something with the injury report, but yes.
I could see sitting Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's a top 20 wide receiver.
You can't. No.
But yeah, no, if I had taken Xavier Worthy and Jerry Jeudy a little later, I'd start both of them over Hill.
Okay, fine. The Colts did sign Charvarius Ward, so they're hoping that he can bounce back. I mentioned that earlier, but all right. We're hoping for fireworks in this game. Now, Jalen Waddle, other than Ashton Genty, if you were in a PPR league, how many rookie running backs would you start over Jalen Waddle?
1.
Hampton?
Henderson,
sorry.
0.
All right, so you guys like Waddle.
Mhm.
You guys like this game, I assume. Give me the rundown on the Colts.
I think everything aside from Jonathan Taylor is a wild card, but it could work out great. Like, the pass rush for the Dolphins should be borderline elite, but the secondaries could be awful. So if they protect Daniel Jones, then hopefully he could, find some solid connections with at least one of his receiving options, hopefully 2. But I don't think anyone aside from Tyler Warren is a must-start player just because of the position that Warren plays. So Pittman and Downs have a lot of opportunity here and a lot of sleeper potential, but you think you just got to be in a situation where you need to start them as opposed to want to start them.
Okay. Final thoughts here. Tyler Warren or Mark Andrews this week?
Andrews.
Let me see what kind of questions we have in the chat.
I don't have Warren as a top 12 tight end. Again, and one of those guys that I really want to see Daniel Jones target him more than 5 times.
So who would you start over him? Would you Hunter Henry?
I would not, but I do have Zach Ertz over him, who's in the same basically bucket as Hunter Henry. I'd start Tucker Kraft over him.
Question from Forrest. Tyler Warren or Jake Ferguson?
I'd go Warren.
I have Ferguson.
Downs or Eckler?
Eckler.
Okay. Let's see. Anything else from this game? Ollie Gordon.
Mike McDaniel quote on Ollie Gordon yesterday was typical Mike McDaniel, but just I agree with you. You said HN no brainer. Clearly, if you drafted him, you're starting him. And I like the fact that he says he's fine, but the fact that he's still limited on the practice report makes me a little bit nervous for a guy dealing with a calf injury. And not so much that he's going to play, because it seems like he's going to play, but are they going to give him his usual allotment of snaps?
Just check Ollie Gordon's roster percentage real quick. Want to guess?
78%.
58%.
84%. We go to
Wow.
Tennessee at Denver.
He is as good of a stash candidate as you can find, because if HM blows out his calf or something,
I know. Why did he do that? Why did he say that?
No,
you're right. Calf injuries are no joke.
Yeah, it's scary.
On
Tennessee
such a
Denver.
positive note.
Stat of the game that everyone
you use your manifestation on Harold Fannin when you drafted all of Devon.
It was positive though.
Tennessee at Denver. All right, I think we talked about this game a lot during one question for each game. So if you missed that portion of it, please go back and listen to one question for each game. But the must-start players in this game are who?
Must start?
Yeah.
Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton. I would put Harvey in that category. And Pollard. I think Pollard's a must start.
I would not put Harvey in the category. I agree with the rest.
Wait, you said
Bo Nix,
Cortland Sutton,
and Pollard.
I think Ingram probably too, just based on his position.
Ingram or Warren?
Ingram.
I would go Warren, but they're close.
Question in the chat, Ingram or Kraft?
Ingram for me. Kraft makes me nervous. Lions were best in fewest fantasy points allowed to tight ends last year.
Ridley or Aaron Jones in the chat? That's a good question.
I love Aaron Jones this week.
Really?
I told you the stats against the Bears. He
He does own the Bears. So you're going Aaron Jones over Ridley. Yeah, Ridley's the guy we want to sit. I just wanted to throw this out. I am starting Cortland Sutton with confidence, but L'Jarius Sneed is going to play. You know I love a shutdown corner.
You love L'Jarius Sneed.
I do.
I mean, you're the president of the L'Jarius Sneed fan club. Like,
listen, I have lowered expectations for L'Jarius Sneed because he missed so much time last year. He hasn't been healthy. He's just getting back now. He had some serious injuries. But in the first 5 games of the season with L'Jarius Sneed, Josh Downs was the only wide receiver that scored more than 12.5 PPR fantasy points against the Titans. That included DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, the Packers guys, the Dolphins guys. I think no Tua in that game.
you haven't named one wide receiver as good as Cortland Sutton yet until the Dolphins guys, and there was no Tua in that game.
DJ Moore?
Is not as good as Cortland Sutton.
Okay. Garrett Wilson?
Not as good as Cortland Sutton.
But it's still, they had horrible games. Horrible games. L'Jarius Sneed is an eraser. And he did shadow. I watched the tape last night. He shadowed Garrett Wilson. He shadowed Tyreek Hill. I only watched the first half, but I assume if he did it in the first half, he did it in the second. He's a really good player. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it. I'm just going to keep
It's not a bad call, but like when you're like you came out of the gate so confident the first 5 games, and then you just hit us with those names. Like,
no, those are impressive names.
I mean, you're talking about DJ Moore with Caleb Williams in the first 4 games of the season.
But they
You're
were
talking
horrible.
about Aaron Rodgers coming off an Achilles injury with Garrett Wilson. Like, there was nothing that was strong.
No, okay. No, they were good. They were good players. All right. I don't really know how much more we need to go in on this. If there are any questions, let's see from the chat. Sorry to kind of shortchange this, but
The Broncos are obviously a must start.
Pollard, DST. Pollard or Pearsall? Good question.
Pollard.
Pearsall.
Here's an interesting one. Illick, Iomanner, or Josh Palmer, half PPR?
If you're starting both, it is Palmer, or you have to decide to start both. If you're stashing one, I would rather have Illick.
Agreed.
Pollard, Hall, Hampton. Pick 2.
Pollard and Hampton.
I'm sitting Hampton.
Oh, okay. I'm sitting Brees. Jamie's sitting Brees. Dave and Heath sitting Hampton. Sutton or McMillan?
Sutton.
Harvey or Eckler?
Harvey.
I'll go Harvey, but they are back-to-back for me.
I really like Eckler this week.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sutton or DeAndre Swift?
Sutton.
Come on.
Swift for Heath. Okay. Oh, Heath is asking, were we supposed to do a Drake May segment for the guy who donated $1,000? He actually emailed me last night and was like, you didn't do enough of what I asked you for, and I donated $1,000. So I told him that we would cover it on Sunday. But he does think where do you have Drake May this week, Heath?
Like 9th.
Yeah, so he's going to be like, I told you so, Heath. He's going to be like, you were so wrong, so low on him, and now all of a sudden you have him 9th.
Well, it's the Raiders.
It is the Raiders.
They don't get to play the Raiders every week.
I think he wanted to track Drake May versus Justin Fields. That's what it was. So you have
should be a good start for him.
I think he might win week 1.
He might. I thought the whole thing was
he
Heath had him ranked too low, and so then I just ranked him top 10, so I couldn't lose.
All right. Well, thank you for remembering that, Heath. Yeah, this was the Mike is dismayed that Heath is dissing May tracker. And we'll get to that on Sunday. We'll keep it running.
Thank you for donating, Mike.
Yeah,
I'm sorry Adam messed it up.
I am too, legitimately. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. Good luck. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today.